Hi, thank you so much for joining me for today's tutorial on how to use a French knitting doll. So these are really cute little wooden dolls which contain 4 nails at the top. Sometimes they might contain metal hooks. This one is the 4 nail version, but they all work the same regardless of which type you have. I sell these in my bricks and mortar shop in Conway, North Wales, and I also sell them in my Etsy shop. So I shall leave a link in the description box below for you. So now let me show you how to use your French knitting doll. So if you purchase the kit from myself, you will have a 100-gram ball of yarn included in your kit. If you've purchased the knitting doll by itself, then go ahead and grab yourself some yarn, preferably a double knit weight yarn works best. So taking the yarn now, we need to leave a long tail, and the reason for this is because the tail needs to feed all the way through our doll and feed out the other end. So what's going to happen is we're going to create a stitch that attaches to the first peg, and then we're going to feed the tail through the doll and then pull it out the other end. So leaving a nice long tail, we're going to go ahead now and create a slip knot. Like so, and then we're just going to attach the slip knot onto the nail here. So you can choose any nail, doesn't really matter, and then just adjust it slightly so it's snug but not tight. Now we're going to take the tail end of the yarn and thread it through the darning needle. And once we've done that, we need to feed the tail end through the centre of our French knitting doll. So go ahead and just poke the needle down through the centre, drop it down, and you might need to give it a little wiggle, and you'll see the needle feed out the bottom of your doll, and just pull on it gently. Mine's got stuck there, so just unhook it if it gets stuck and just pull it so that it feeds through the centre of the doll. Now just gently pull on that tail end, and that will make a nice snug fit at the top of your French knitting doll. And now we're ready to begin knitting. So we're going to need our little plastic knitting needle now. And what we're going to do, and just before we start, I just want to say we're going to be working in a clockwise direction. So all the time you'll be working clockwise. So just a little reminder that little slip knot we made in the beginning, this one here, is our very first stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to take our working yarn and wrap it now around the back of the next nail, bringing it towards us, wrapping it around the front of the nail, back round, like so, and then around the back of the next nail, and then bringing it round the front, wrapping it round, and again round the next nail, round the back, and then wrap round the front. And now you have 4 stitches. So those little wraps we've just done have created your 4 stitches. So taking your plastic knitting needle now, we're going to begin knitting. So we're going to wrap the yarn around the first nail, like so. Now taking our knitting needle, we're going to pick up that bottom stitch and lift it up and over the top of the nail to create a new stitch. And there you've created your first stitch. So you can see now that the yellow yarn has become your new stitch. And we're just going to poke it down into that centre. You can pull on the tail if you want to. Now we're going to bring the working yarn across to the second peg. And we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to take the bottom stitch up and over the nail across that yarn to create a new stitch. And we're going to continue working in this way all around. So I shall work a few more stitches with you, and then I'm going to show you how to change colour. Okay, so we're ready to change colour now, and I'm going to change over to this lovely blue colour so that you can see the colour change later on. So we're just going to cut the yellow and then I'm going to take the blue yarn. I'm going to hold the two pieces together, and I'm just going to tie a very simple knot. Nothing fancy, just a basic knot to secure the two ends together. Just like so. So you don't have to trim the ends of your knots, they're fine as they are, but if they are too long you could just go ahead and give them a little snip, and just making sure that that knot is secure still. So I'm going to show you now how these little tail ends are going to get woven into our work. So for now we just continue knitting as we were previously. So I'm just going to work my way around to those little ends so that I can show you what to do when we get there. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I've got my little tail ends here, and I'm just going to simply work the stitch as I normally would. So just ignore the little tail ends and just find your stitch underneath and just work it as we normally would. So taking that bottom stitch and taking it over the top of the nail like so. And then what we're going to do is take our little tails and just poke them into the centre of our work, and they will be enclosed inside the knitting, so when it comes out the other end a bit later on you won't see those tail ends at all. They'll be nicely secured inside your work. So I'm just going to continue knitting now for a few more rows until the knitting is long enough that it shows through the bottom of the knitting doll, and then I shall join you back here and I shall show you how the colour change worked and also how to cast off. Okay, so I'm back, I've done my knitting, and here you can see the results. So this is what I wanted to show you here with the colour change. So you can see that the join is perfect and we don't have any tails sticking out. However, if you did, you could just grab your needle or your tapestry needle, just poke them back through should any be popping out. But here we're all good and we can't see any ends. So you can see the process now of how knitting on the top here with these 4 nails, the knitting travels down through the hollow of the doll and then comes out the other end. And you just keep knitting for however long you want your knitting to be. So you can make all sorts of things. You can make bracelets, you can make bookmarks, you can thread wire through and shape them into letters to make names or words. Yeah, many things you can do with the knitting at the end. So maybe I'll do a separate video on all the things you could make with your French knitting doll as a separate video, but there's just a few ideas to be going on with. So now we need to learn how to cast this off. So to cast off, we're going to cut a good length of yarn. So go ahead and give yourself enough length for casting off. And then we're going to take our tapestry needle. Just going to thread that one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our work around. Okay, and we are going to knit the stitch like normal. But then we're going to bring the tapestry needle, so as if we were going to pick up that bottom stitch to bring it over the top again, but instead we're going to bring the needle all the way through and pulling our tail through, and then that just pops off the nail and pulls through, and that is that stitch now secure. So we're going to do exactly the same. I'm going to bring it round, I'm going to knit the next stitch as I normally would, and now I'm going to pop my needle through the stitch, the needle facing towards me, and pull my yarn through. If it gets stuck on the little nails, just unhook it, because we're going to take it off this nail now anyway, so just unhook it and just pull that tight there. Okay, and then we're going to go around to the next one like so. Okay, and then we're going to do the same. I'm just going to knit that last stitch off, and then I'm just going to pop my needle through. There we go. So I just pop my needle through that stitch and pull the tail end through, pop it off and just pull that tight. And the last one, just going to hook that over, and then I'm just going to bring my needle through and pull that through and off the needle, pull my knitting through the doll and just secure. And there you have your knitting from your French doll. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial, learning how to knit on your new knitting doll. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more knitting tutorials, crochet tutorials and spinning. And I shall see you in the next video. Happy knitting!